Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, each one of you. Anthony, I want to start with you.
Okay.
So you've been working for 20 years now to serve the homeless individuals in Los Angeles. So tell us, what is the state of homelessness here in LA?
I believe that the state of homelessness in Los Angeles is at a crisis. I believe we have 63,000 people that are homeless currently in Los Angeles County. Probably about 25,000 to 30,000 of those people are unsheltered. And we have a crisis that we have to tackle somehow, some way. A mortality report was just released not too long ago. We're saying on the streets of Los Angeles that 2 or 3 people are dying a day, so we're in a crisis.
Now, you work as the Community Center Director for the LA County Department of Mental Health. What role does mental health play in this crisis?
I think mental health plays a crucial role in this crisis. We don't know how many of these individuals are severely mentally ill. We don't know how many of these individuals that have a persistent psychosis, but we do know it's a lot. And I think the Department of Mental Health has took the stance that this is our population, and we'll be working with this population from here on out.
How does your department work with this population?
We have outreach teams, our home teams, our AOT teams, our med teams, our camp teams, and a lot of different other teams that are specialists in this type of work, and we're going to roll out into the communities and start focusing in on these individuals and treating these individuals with some respect and some dignity and making sure that they get the services that they need through all means necessary. We're not going to take no from a client that says, I don't need mental health services, if that client has been sitting on a bus stop for 5 years and not moving, or if that client is psychotic and running in the streets naked, and say that they don't need services. Our job is to engage and to continue to engage until we're able to engage. So.
Nicole, I want to turn to you. So you're the executive director of the Urban Voices Project, the choir that we will be seeing in action later today. Tell us, how does the program work?
Our program actually works sort of in a way ideally in conjunction with the work that Anthony does, and we really use music as a bridge for people to get from the streets to services. Our programs are primarily housed in healthcare facilities, in free health clinics, and our workshops create a space where people who are living in really isolating and stressful conditions can come together, find community, find connection. Community singing has a lot of documented physiological benefits from the release of positive neurochemicals, reducing blood pressure, et cetera, but also really critical psychosocial benefits of creating social cohesion and restoring one's human dignity. And once someone gets there, then the idea is that they'll make other changes and will help serve to connect to other services like mental health and other health services.
What brought you to the program? I know you studied art history and you're really passionate about arts education. How did this come together?
I mean, I personally just have a history, sort of a background in the arts and education, and generally, how does that not only enrich, but empower and connect us to the human experience. And when the first time I visited Urban Voices Project, it was the first of our neighborhoods, it ended up being the first of this program that we now are taking to other areas outside of Skid Row. And I just was struck by how open everyone was. People who came from, I don't know where, they didn't know where I came from, but we were there singing together, shoulder to shoulder, really uplifting repertoire, lyrics, ideas, and in that space, everyone sharing their own stories of what those words meant to them and connected to their experience, and in that, we connect to one another.
Now, you mentioned this choir has, physiological effects, psychosocial effects, positive effects. So how specifically does being a part of a choir help a homeless individual, their mental and physical well-being?
You know, you'd have to ask the choir members, honestly, and they'll be telling their stories as well in the performance later. But you know, it gives someone a sense of self-efficacy and agency, and simply a community and a place to go, and structure and accountability and skills. We also work to members who come through our programs have the opportunity to train as a facilitator, to participate as an accompanist, as a musician within the program. So it's very sort of holistic community. And then we really work to be part of this more holistic system as well of engaging the homelessness crisis.
Right now, Helen, I want to turn to you over on the end. Obviously, the homelessness crisis goes hand in hand with affordable housing. So you are the co-executive director of LA-Más, the urban design nonprofit. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you're working, how LA-Más is working to address the homelessness crisis. You know, let's start with what ADUs are.
Accessory dwelling units, also known as granny flats, in-law units, backyard homes, ADUs, has been a housing type that our organization has been trying to leverage to be a source of affordable housing. So we have a program called the Backyard Homes Project, which really is a way to help average homeowners become providers of affordable housing. Through ADUs, the requirement is that any homeowner we help, you're committing to becoming a Section 8 landlord for 5 years. And the incentives are that we are your one-stop shop. We help you design, build, permit, finance, lease, and we make it easy, we make it fun. And we've launched our program this year. We have nearly 200 homeowners who've said, yes, sign me up. I want to build an ADU, I'll pay for it, and I'll house someone who's lower income. And we're still accepting applications. So for people in the crowd who are homeowners in the city of LA, we're still looking for interested homeowners. And in the new year, we'll be expanding this program to unincorporated LA County.
What have been the biggest challenges to this program? Have you faced any reluctance from homeowners or any literal NIMBYism, as in not in my backyard-ism?
Well, what's great is that because of California state law, ADUs are allowed kind of by right, which means that you don't have to go through a long, lengthy process. And if your neighbor doesn't want you to have one, they don't have an ability to say no. So NIMBYism, it really isn't a problem. And we've really created a program to encourage, especially low to moderate income homeowners, to participate. And for many of these low to moderate income homeowners who are cash poor, asset rich, the ability to finance an ADU has been hard. So we spent a year working with nonprofit banks, community development financial institutes, to create a financial product to make it feasible, financially feasible to do that. So in partnership with Genesis LA and Self-Help Federal Credit Union, we're testing the first ever mortgage product that allows homeowners to be able to finance and build an ADU and be able to contribute to our housing crisis.
Now, Anthony, you were featured in a 2017 Atlantic documentary called Hollywood 14, The Healthcare Cost of Homelessness. It followed you in your previous role as an outreach specialist, and I'd like to roll a clip to give everyone a sense of your work.
Okay. I gravitate to the people that are underserved more because my father left when I was 6 months old, and I always wondered what happened to him.
Hi. Oh, this is my son. I'm glad to see you, man. I've been worried about you so long.
Huh?
I've been worried about you so long.
Yeah, I know.
Especially since my wife died.
I know. I
love you, man. Be safe. Promise? All right. I got backup, boy. I got backup. I got an army behind me, yeah. Be safe, Anthony.
All right. I know there's families out there that haven't seen their loved ones. Somebody needs to love them and take care of them until they find their way back to their families.
Anthony, please tell us the story behind that moment.
Well, that's my biological father. He just passed away like 3 months ago. He became homeless in 1984. And I didn't know him growing up. And I really don't look at this as a homeless crisis. I kind of look at it as a human crisis. And he stayed on Skid Row. And him and his wife stayed on Skid Row, homeless for a very, very long time. And he's the one that got me into this work, doing this work. And when we talk about family and we talk about people living on the streets, it is always my goal to connect people to family if they want to be connected to family. My father had a massive stroke 3 months ago, and I found out that he was in a hospital. And what I didn't know is that I would meet my aunt and my cousins that I've never known ever in the hospital. And my aunt, bless her heart, is 78 years old, and she just couldn't deal with it. And I got to be there for him and the side of a family that I never knew, and help my father and my family through this process. And what came out of that was that I am now connected to a family that I never knew. And when people call people homeless or crisis, I just truly believe it's a human crisis. Mm-hmm. Because my father was mentally ill. He didn't have a choice. He didn't have the wherewithal to get a job and pay rent and do all the things that we take advantage of. My stepmother was homeless on Skid Row since 1968, and she passed away a few years ago too. So when I go about doing the work that I do, I'm very mindful of not just that person, mm-hmm. but that person's loved ones. And I'm not looking just to house someone. I'm looking to reconnect them to family.
Anthony.
Because, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Because I truly believe that we all come from somewhere. No matter where we end up at, we all come from somewhere.
Thank you so much for sharing. Jumping off your point about this, the way that you look not at this as a homelessness crisis, but as a human crisis. Nicole, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the biggest misconceptions about homeless individuals in Los Angeles.
There are so many. And really, it's that, sorry, I guess I need this mic. It's that that it's a label, but it's not. It's not who the person is. It's a condition. It's a circumstance that one happens to be living in at the moment, and it does not define the person. And everyone has their own story. There are as many stories of how people land in the situation they're in as there are people who are experiencing it. And what our program does is really look to each of those individuals and what do they want to do with their lives, and how can participation in Urban Voices projects in an ensemble, in a space where one can regain one's sense of agency, etc. What does that mean for them? What is their bridge? What is their path? Is it reconnecting with family? We have a story of a choir member who, you'll see our choir wears their black T-shirts with the Urban Voices Project logo, and that was what was said to bring to the performance. And this one choir member showed up in a suit, and Liev, our conductor, said, all you needed was a T-shirt. He said, no, it's okay. I've got the shirt. I'll wear it for the performance. I'm going to be seeing my son at this performance for the first time in 7 years, and he's taking me out to dinner, and I want to look my best.
Absolutely.
And that's just one story. So, there are people who want to reconnect with family, getting housing, getting jobs. I think the point really is that there isn't one size fits all. It's not a specific set of steps that gets you to a certain goal. We don't prescribe that. But rather allowing people to define their own path and supporting their getting to that. And so I guess to go back to your question of the biggest misconception is that we can tell people what they need to do to get out of this situation. Or that, it's obviously some moral flaw or something, which I think everybody here can agree that's not the case.
Right. Right.
But that, again, these are human beings, and it is more than a roof and a meal.
Right. Now, we're just about ready to take audience questions, so please submit them, and we will jump to that in a minute. Helen, I want to end with you. Speaking of these misconceptions, how do they get in the way of the work you do, of the Backyard Homes Project? Have you gotten feedback from landlords and tenants so far?
Well, we're going to be in permitting for 4 homeowners at the end of this year and start construction for our first few. And what we've gotten in terms of feedback have really been from homeowners who are excited to participate. And I would say that the 2 kind of big opportunities are that for many homeowners who are interested in building a backyard home, it's unpredictable exactly how much it'll cost. You can hire an architect, they'll give you a fee, go to the permitting, it's unknown exactly how much it'll be, and you'll find a general contractor and there may be change orders. So that's risky, that's being a developer, and for many homeowners, that's a big deal and a lot of work. So what we have offered is to take that risk from homeowners to say, we will take on the risk, we will build you something for $100,000 all in, we will commit to that price point, and it gives homeowners a certainty of how much they're going to have to spend. They're going to know with certainty how much they're going to get back. If you're renting a 2-bedroom unit, you're going to get over $2,000 per month. So that level of risk, which is something that nonprofit developers, for-profit developers do day in and day out, that's something that is hard for the average homeowner. So being able to figure out that that has been a challenge and to come up with a program that really addresses that needs is something that we're excited to see more homeowners take advantage of. I would say that the second challenge has been, there has been lots of policy changes over the years. I serve on the City Planning Commission and have seen all the various policies in place, and what's exciting about accessory dwelling units is that there has been a state leadership to make it even easier than before. You can build ADUs on multifamily lots, you can build more than one ADU, you can build a junior ADU. So that will take in effect in the new year, and that could radically transform what we do with our property in Los Angeles. LA has over 500,000 single-family lots. We have over 850,000 multifamily lots. So if we can have any small percentage of that have more housing units, and for some of those to be affordable, that can make a tremendous difference.
I want to ask all of you this, actually, so chime in. But how can people in this room help, and what do you say to people who feel powerless in trying to address homelessness in LA? Anthony, would you like to start?
All I could say is just take one individual to help another individual. I think it's 10 million people in LA County, 60,000 homeless people. And I think everybody in this room and everybody in the bigger community of Los Angeles County, if we can just look outside of ourselves and our families and just help one individual, that's all it would take.
Right. Now, there's actually an audience question that I want to pop in here. So an audience member asks, if you could enact one policy change in how Los Angeles addresses homelessness, what would it be? Helen, I know your background is in policy. Let's start with you.
One of the goals that the city has is to allow for supportive housing, bridge housing throughout the city. And one of the challenges is that NIMBYism and the desire from residents not to see that in their backyards has been a barrier. So what would be exciting is to not allow that NIMBYism purely because the housing is for someone who is formerly homeless or it's supportive housing to be able to be built. So it would be great to be able to undo the zoning in the city, which really sides towards those who are more educated, who are higher income, and to be able to distribute housing of all types, affordable, workforce, supportive throughout the city. And I think there'll be an opportunity as the city updates its community plans and its housing elements, so I hope that all of you will be there as champions to promote that and to be progressive in allowing for a redistribution, so our single family protection and our NIMBYism isn't going to be driving the future of Los Angeles.
Anthony, we have an audience question for you. If there was one law or regulation that you could change, /overturn, /enact, that would make your work easier or more effective, what would that be?
I think it would be our LPS laws for people that are gravely disabled on the streets. That's one law that I would definitely change because it's so broad, and it's so misunderstood. That's one thing that I would definitely change.
Got it. Well, Nicole, I want to wrap up with you. What can you tell us about the musicians we're going to get to know later today?
Oh, I leave them to tell their own story. They need no introduction. But I do, if you don't mind, I want to go back to the question about what we can do.
Of course.
The thing that gives me such hope in doing this work is seeing all of the community members, in Skid Row especially, coming together. This is a strong, vibrant, resilient community with so many dimensions. We have musical artists, we have visual artists, we have writers, we have athletes. And my one recommendation would be, what is your passion? Because I guarantee you there is someone living on the streets with that same passion. And if you can connect in that way that you both share, there's no telling what that relationship can do and strengthen, and it's mutual. This is not just how do we help other people, but we gain so much strength and healing and sense of community from that experience and relationship as well.
It's about what we share. Well, thank you all for joining me on stage today, and thank you all for being here.